am here with Jamie Kirby, it's hard to even explain how much fun it was teaching Jamie Kirby for 2 years. So let me just give Jamie, can you tell us a little bit about where you are, what you're studying, that kind of thing, so we get an idea of the context, and let's talk a little bit.
I graduated in 2016 from Carroll. I go to NYU right now, and I'm majoring in science and technology studies. It's the same degree at other schools. It's called Science, Technology, and Society, which I honestly feel like is a more apt name. It describes it a lot better.
I'm making notes as I do this so that I can ask questions later on. So I need to put down in writing. I just think I want to ask you later. Okay, so so when you went there though, you do some art component to it too, right?
Everybody thinks that I'm studying art, and that was the original path I think I wanted to take. I don't really know. I've always been really torn on it, and I still feel like I think about it a lot because I really like making art, but I don't feel like it's intellectually stimulating for me. And I always feel like I have to choose one or the other. So I've been trying to see if I can do both in my life, and I feel like I'm finding a way to do that now, but not by studying it in school, unfortunately. I'm thinking about taking a couple art classes just because I miss it.
I still remember those pictures you did for the boys, or for the boy. You said the older one, I think.
Oh my God, that's so old.
Did you remember doing that?
Yeah, I do.
7 or 8 years now. Yeah.
I can make a much better one now.
They're pretty good then. So what kind of art are you? I mean, are you still able to get in the studio, or I don't know the term?
Since quarantine began, I picked up oil painting, which I had never done. I had a hard time completing artwork or just doing artwork in general. And it was always something that I was like, oh, I'm really good at this, I need to do it, but I just could never make myself do it. And then I had always had oil paints. I bought them years ago and just never used them. And over quarantine, I picked them up, and I love oil painting. So now I've been really focusing on oil painting a lot. And I would love to move into like surrealism. I love realism painting. I love I wish I could be a Renaissance painter in like the Italian Renaissance. That would be the ultimate goal.
With the science and technology, you can just create a time machine and then go back.
Yeah, I actually had a dream about that a couple nights ago.
Together well.
It would be very fun.
What kind of art do you work, or what are you doing now as for art projects?
Right now, I just painted an album cover for someone who I went to high school with.
Do I know them?
Sam Kraft.
No, I don't know Sam.
His music's really good. I'm excited. I think I might do his next one too. I'm really just learning how right now, because in all actuality, I think I've made less than 10 total paintings in my life. So I should, no less than 20 in my life, but less than 10 oil paintings. And so it's really just about practice. I feel like I just started the first painting that's really coming from my mind. And I'm really excited for that.
What'd you do before?
I feel like I would just find things that I'm like, oh, I don't know how to paint that. And I would like find a picture of a bee or a bug or something that I could just learn how to.
Did you do a bee? I think I saw a bee just the other day or something.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool.
It'll be like someone will pay me to paint something random, and I'm like, okay. But
yeah. Well, there's
never any creative expression in my painting, so I don't feel like I'm like an artist or painter at all, because none of it's really like mine yet.
I was going to ask you that, like, if you're doing the painting stuff, I mean, that sounds like I'm diminishing it. I'm not at all. If you're doing that, today, is there a way to like put your stuff on a website or something, or anything like that, where you could showcase your work? Because my God, the colors are so vibrant. That's the stuff. I know nothing about what makes good artwork at all. But the colors of your painting, especially that bee one, this one that jumped out at me, was so vibrant, so just caught my eye. How would you showcase that? Or
honestly,
showcasing it
definitely through the internet. But the thing is, you have to, in order to pick up an audience or a following, you have to make things and post often and consistently. And I unfortunately make like 2 things every year. So every time I post something, people will be like on my stuff waiting for another for like a month. And then everyone's just like, she's not going to do
So
anything.
you have a semi-annual event.
Yeah.
That's what you do. You sell it that way. No, I think I totally get
My
that.
goal definitely I've been trying to quarantine myself in a way for a while, just to sit myself down and be like, make things. And then Corona happened, and I've made a lot more things since then. And now that I'm forcing myself to learn how to do it, it's getting a lot easier and therefore faster.
Well,
So
you're at ground zero for coronavirus stuff. I mean, were you in New York this summer when everything?
yeah, I was home alone the first few months of quarantine. My roommate moved out, and I was I was home alone in my apartment, and I had a ball, to be completely honest.
Really?
I I love solitude more than I should.
I
And
can't imagine. You're so vicarious. I mean, not vicarious. That's the right word. You're so I don't know, full of life.
I learned a lot about myself in the last few months. My character arc during quarantine and the pandemic has been very, very interesting. I I learned a lot. I'm definitely learned that I'm an introvert with like social skills. Like I'm not I sound extroverted, but I'm very much introverted, I learned. And I'm much happier that way.
Kim and I have joked around. For me, like I've been training for quarantine my entire life. But I don't have to leave the house. Like I have an excuse to be like, no, it's okay. I really feel safer. It's just not a good idea for me to go out and socialize right now. And so I was like, this is awesome. How are you doing in quarantine? I'm loving it.
I know they were like, stay home. And I was like, say less. I was pumped. I really did. I had a great time. I really, because I was also in intensive therapy during that time. And so all I did was paint and read books and listen to podcasts and go to therapy and run, go on walks. And I had a ball.
So you've been reading a lot of books?
I guess not recently since school started, but I was trying to read over the summer a lot. I haven't really found, actually, I read one. I need to think of the name of it. Whatever, I'll think of it later. But I read one that was really good.
Good. Well, let's think. And then,
100 Years of Solitude.
100 Years of Solitude, Gabriel Garcia Marquez.
Yes. That was the first book I've read in a long time that I was like, this is phenomenal. I was looking on my good friend's bookshelf and he was like, you should read this book. It's my favorite book. And I was like, 100 Years of Solitude. This is very fitting for the time we're in. So it was this summer. And I read it and that was one of the most, I loved it.
I'll give you a modern one. It's a very different subject matter, very different topic. But one of my former students recommended a couple of years ago. It's called A Little Life. And I don't even want to begin to talk about what it's about, but you talk about an amazingly powerful story. There was one point where I was in it and one thing happens and it's so unexpected and it was so jarring. I had to literally put the book down for 3 or 4 days. I could not make myself pick it up to continue reading it because I was still trying to process what had happened.
I'm so excited. I'm definitely
Life. So good. Super powerful.
I love that. I'm going to need a new one for when school ends in a week.
So what's school like right now? What are you doing?
The other thing that I really learned about myself during quarantine is that online school is actually way better for me. This is the first time I've ever been in school and I've actually actively been learning and been able to participate. Because before I learned that I have very slow or low functioning audio processing.
Okay.
So when I'm in classes, it's really hard for me. But now that everything's online, I mostly do everything by reading and I turn subtitles on for videos, or I'll just read the transcript of the video. And I'm learning so much more. My grades are so much better. My writing is so much better. And I would have never learned that.
Your writing was pretty good.
Oh my God. When I came into NYU, they were like, I need to take 2 core writing courses freshman year. And they were the most like life-changing courses for me because I went to like tutoring for them and I went to the writing center and they were like, you can write, but everything is just really out of order. And now that I've noticed that, sometimes I'll think and I realize I'm like, wow, I kind of think like Yoda. And then I gotta like rearrange it. So when I write essays, I'll write it and then I'll like cut and paste and just rearrange everything. And then it ends up being pretty good.
um, right, like Yoda, or you think like Yoda. The
So serious too, like.
well, so let's talk about NYU. So you've been there. When's the graduation date?
Hopefully May of 2021. Realistically, I'll quote graduate in May 2021, but I'll take like 2 more classes in the summer.
So you've done that amazing thing of cramming 4 years into 5. Is that
kind of actually 4 years into 3 because I took 2 years off almost.
But that's what I mean. I mean,
I'm really
in college
trying to. Yeah, I'm definitely getting the calls from home to finish up.
Kathy's ready to get you off the payroll.
Yeah, Kathy's like once every few months, she's like, just need you to get it over with. Just get it over with. I'm like, I'm enjoying it.
So because how many were you able to finish high school with like a lot of extra like college credits already, or does NYU take those?
Yes, they do. I only got one though. I got the AB calculus credit,
Okay.
which put me ahead because I was going to engineering school initially.
That's right.
I'm still technically in the engineering school and I have a lot of engineering credits. I made it to like the end of sophomore year, junior year, and then I was like, I don't want to build stuff.
I remember seeing that you were in engineering originally. NYU is like organized a little bit differently than a lot of schools, I think.
NYU is really, really odd.
What's that like? I mean, how are they organized?
The main campus is in Manhattan, and that's the one everyone knows about, you know, NYU in the movies and Gossip Girl. And then there's NYU Tandon School of Engineering in Brooklyn. And it's in downtown Brooklyn. It's in Metro Tech Center. It's super nice, very pretty if you're ever in New York. I love Tandon, but we're just very separate from the rest of NYU. And everybody knows each other. It's a really small community. And if you're not solely an engineer, you're going to feel a little bit out of place. Okay. Everybody's really like, I have great Tandon friends, and I'm every time I'm like the NYU Tandon kid. So when I'm in a sorority, so whenever I'm on, and most Tandon kids are either they have engineering fraternities and sororities and fraternities that are more on that campus, but I'm in the main campus one. And whenever I'm there, if anyone ever mentions Tandon, I'm like, Tandon! Like, yes! I like aggressively rep it. But I do love it still. I say that Tandon is way harder than the other NYU schools, though. And they can't argue with me. Maybe Stern, the business school.
Well, the business schools and engineering schools are universally pretty much the toughest schools.
I know. I'm trying to take a physics class because I want to take one for fun, but I don't want to take an engineering physics class. I'm trying to take one at the other school.
Try to take a college physics class for fun. You and I define fun very differently.
It's really defined a lot of my like path through figuring out what I think is fun.
Well, so you said a little while ago some self-discovery happened during quarantine, and I don't want you to talk about anything you're not comfortable with.
I'm comfortable talking about everything.
Okay. Are you doing okay? I mean, you talked about doing intensive therapy.
Yeah, I'm great now. I was really, really depressed and I could not function. My grades were horrible and I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I withdrew from NYU for 2 years to do an intensive therapy program. And that completely, I recommend everybody, if you don't know what you want to do when you come out of high school, going into a therapy program like outpatient and just working on yourself for a year to figure out what you love and what you want to do is extremely worthwhile. And I wish I did that because it completely changed my college experience.
Yeah.
Like my grades have been, I'm pretty sure all A's or B's pluses maybe since I got back. And
B
but I
pluses,
love,
Kathy. They've been at least B pluses, Kathy.
I love what I'm doing. I love my new major, but I never would have gotten here if I didn't do a lot of, because intensive therapy sounds a lot scarier than it is. Because when I first went in there, I was just looking for a therapist and they were like, you should do this program. And I was like, if you're going to make me a functional human, then I'll do whatever you say. So they just kind of took me in. And then I basically for 2 years, and I'm still in it, I record all of my like thoughts, feelings, activities, emotions throughout the day and what I do throughout the day. And then at the end of the week, you reflect it and you analyze it and you see, is there anything that you loved? Is there anything you didn't like doing? How can we change your next week to cater to that thing? And so you learn a lot about yourself when you're really analyzing everything you think and do with professionals, multiple professionals, and other people, because there are groups too. And I was very against therapy before I came to college. And now, and I do know that therapy is very inaccessible. And it was very hard for me to get. It took me years to get a good therapist. I went through, I think, 14 of them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I really was hunting. I had a really bad psychiatrist experience for a really long time. I had years of really bad experiences, basically.
Were you seeing a therapist in high school?
No, I should have been.
Okay.
If I could, I tell everybody now, I just think everybody, if I was president of the United States, I would make therapy extremely accessible, therapists are extremely high paid individuals who give everybody free therapy because everybody needs it.
The whole mental health, that's because just my memory of Jamie Kirby in class was always lots of energy. And I look forward to your class. I don't remember everybody who was in that particular class, but I definitely remember looking forward to, like, this is a really fun class. That wasn't the Kylie Haley class, was it? It was, wasn't it?
Was I in that class? I think that was either the period right before me, but I think I was in that class one year.
I want to think, my brain associates students in clumps, and I've got this Jamie, Haley, Kylie kind of clump in my brain.
I feel like I was there.
Oh yeah, I need to talk to Haley and Kylie. Kylie's definitely on my list. Once through Haley, I think we'll balk at trying to have a conversation. But
I saw Kylie when I was home.
Yeah, so the 2 years of intensive therapy. You talk about journaling and stuff. Was that through NYU, or is this something separate that you did?
No, this is actually something that I wish I could broadcast everywhere. If you're looking for a good therapist, go to a hospital.
Okay.
It sounds really aggressive because you're like, oh my God, I'm going to a hospital. But that's where the best care that I've ever found is. I've gone through many private practices. I've met probably the majority of the therapists at NYU. I've met so many of them. And I did not like any of them at all. They did not help me. And this was the first time. Every single person I've met at the hospital is great at what they do. And it's just very important. And now I tell everybody you should go to a hospital because they're.
Well, so during that 2 years, I'm just from a practical standpoint, what were you working? Were you?
Yeah, I've been working full time since I moved here. And that was a lot of, honestly, why my mental health was quickly deteriorating.
Yeah, you're working full time?
Yeah, I had a lot of undiagnosed mental illnesses my whole life that I just hereditary inherited and I've had, but I didn't have obvious symptoms, so no one could tell. Mm-hmm. So if I don't do homework or if I don't do anything that I'm supposed to do, people don't really notice because at least I'm having a good time not doing it. But they don't realize that it's not that I'm choosing to not, it's that I can't. And that was really hard for me to realize first. And then once I started seeking help, then got a what was the question?
My question is
Sorry.
really bad. How did you
I still have
support yourself?
ADD.
Okay. You're working full time. Are you still
Oh
working?
yeah. Oh, that was the best. Well, I came to college and my biggest concern when I was coming to NYU, I pay for my college and I pay for everything I do. I'm financially independent from my parents.
So Kathy doesn't have you on the payroll.
No, Kathy does not. She does pay my phone bill though. Um, but no, she helps me out if I need it, and I usually try to pay her back, but I'm fully independent. When I first moved here, that was the hardest thing. I moved here by myself freshman year.
18. Wow.
Yeah, and I didn't know anyone and I moved in early and I didn't have a job. And so my first thought was get a job. So I went door to door with my resume and was like, please, someone hire me. And I applied at so many, 50 places. And then I finally got a job. I was so excited because I could have money to eat. And I started working at Trader Joe's.
Okay.
And that was a wonderful experience. I met the people who work there are incredible everywhere across the board. I made so many, they're like my family. They really took me in and made me feel like I had like people around me for a while. And that was a wonderful. And then I worked full time there. I worked 5 a.m. shifts to 1 p.m. and then 5 p.m. to 1 a.m. around an engineering schedule.
Wow. So
And I was originally a full-time student for mechanical engineering, and I wanted to minor in nuclear engineering and sciences. And I ended up dropping that major when I took my first nuclear classes.
Wait, I want to catalog everything you just said for a minute. Let's see, because I'm still down. I kind of get stuck in the math of you worked 5 a.m. to 1 p.m. and
Yes.
then 5 p.m. to 1 a.m.
It was so brutal. And I have narcolepsy.
It's like a 16-hour day, isn't it?
No, 5 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's 8 hours.
Okay.
But I would do them. I would do like 3 days of the AM and then 2 days of the
Oh, I get it. Okay.
So my sleep schedule was just
Oh yeah.
because it was around my school schedule.
Okay. Yeah, my sister back in the dark ages, she kind of did something similar to that when she had to work, and then so that's and then you were trying to do, and okay, so along with working a full-time job at Trader Joe's, you were majoring in nuclear engineering, I think you said?
Mechanical engineering.
Mechanical engineering. Oh, well, just mechanical engineering.
Yeah.
Big deal. Wow. Yeah, no wonder you were having mental health issues.
I was dying.
Because just no sleep. I mean, you're just, if nothing else, just the sleep deprivation alone.
No, and I was like, I already had a lot of untreated mental illnesses. So to also not have any time or sleep, I was not a human being. Like, I don't remember anything from that time, really. Like, all I remember is moving, like just going.
And you said you spoke about Trader Joe's a lot in past tense. So where are you working now?
Right now I'm unemployed because of Corona. Since working at Trader Joe's, I always have multiple jobs at once because supporting yourself in New York City while going to one of the most expensive schools in America is quite a feat for someone without a full-time job. So I tutor a lot of children in math in Brooklyn, ages 8 through 17. And I nanny for various families. I do art commissions. I did catering for a while for a catering company. I worked at Ben & Jerry's for a couple of years, Trader Joe's. And then when I started going to therapy, I quit all those jobs because they were making me mentally unwell. And I started working at Cha Cha Matcha, which is a green tea shop. Okay. It was my favorite. I love matcha. I've been into it since like 9th or 8th grade. I love it. And I used to go to this place all the time. And then one day I was like, why don't I just work here? Like, I need a job. And I don't want to pay $7 for a latte. So I started working there, and that was the best job ever. I had so much fun. I was so sad when Corona closed it. It was really sad.
I mean, what? can I ask, and I don't need to hear about a number, but are you doing a lot of student loans? What are you doing?
Oh my God, I'm in so much debt.
Okay.
I require debt forgiveness probably.
Okay.
I'm just kind of hoping that it'll pan out.
Well, is it okay? So I think when people go into this talking about the debt and stuff, so you're capped. There's like three basic kinds of loans, right? There's federal loans, the Stafford loans that pretty much everyone gets. Not say pretty much everyone, but they're pretty easy to get. And then there's plus loans. What kind of debt are you doing? Are you doing private loans as well?
I have all of the above.
Okay.
I have the first 2 years were NYU loans of various types. And
From the
then,
university itself?
yeah. And then because I did not function properly for most of, if not all of my college career, I cannot get loans from NYU anymore. So now I have to go to Sallie Mae.
Okay. All right. And that's going to be, I mean, again, I don't want to get too terribly personal or uncomfortable about it, but what's like the worst interest rate you're looking at in a couple of years? Do you know yet?
No, but all I know is it's going to be
And that's the thing that's kind of, it feels kind of criminal, right?
It's extremely criminal.
You take this 18-year-old and okay, so let's talk about that. If you couldn't have gotten the loans, if you couldn't have made it work with the loans, what would you have done?
So when I chose to go to NYU, I didn't know where I wanted to go to college. I feel like my whole life, everyone had been focused on the next step, whether that be like the next standardized test, the next grade, and it was never about the education as much. And I feel like it's very much that way with college, where when I was trying to go to school, they were like, what do you want to do? And I was like, whatever I can go to school for. And then I didn't know what I wanted to do. And someone showed me NYU when I was like 16. And I don't know why, I just wanted to go there.
Was it gossip related?
Yeah. And then I saw how expensive it was. And every time I would mention to anyone that I wanted to go there, I would get all why, do you know how much that costs? Like, do you know how much debt you're going to be in? I had a couple people make me spreadsheets to show me because they just wanted me to know, which is valid. I'm in a lot of debt, but I was just so determined to go there. So that was what I catered when I wanted to go there, I was just focused. I was like, okay, so I'm going to get these loans and then I'm just going to have to major in something that will get me a high paying job. And then I was fully planning for like 10 years to just live really cheap and make a ton of money and then just try to pay off all my debt. Because to me, it was worth it because I really wanted to go to NYU because I wanted to be taught by the professors there. Okay. That's why I wanted to go. Like, I wanted to learn there. And I thought that I could get the education that I wanted. And I felt like I would do anything to get that. And if I couldn't have gotten the loans to go to NYU, I probably would have gone to a smaller like community college and then kept trying to get the loans to go there.
I think that's the problem we're seeing. So we did this thing at App Camp, our college App Camp that I've created, where the last day I sit down and I talk to kids straight up about the money, and I break down from like, if you have the average amount of debt that a college graduate has, that $38,000, it's an average, what that's going to mean if you're in the best case scenario that it's all coming out of Stafford loans, right? It's all coming out of those loans. What's that going to look like in a payment and things like that? And what I'm hearing from you there is, it doesn't matter. You're gonna.
I feel like the genuine, like, general attitude of every single student at NYU, because there's two types of students at NYU. There's like the loaded students, which make up most of the student body, obviously. It's like most people wouldn't let their kids go here unless they can afford it. And then there's the, we have a big student body, and there are a lot of me, and and then there's us who are hundreds of thousands in debt, and we're all just like, all of us are just so, we're just going to make money. Like, that's just it. Like, we're just so, I feel like we see it as like, there's no other option. And I don't really know why that is.
And I talk with people a lot. I'm like, there's some lessons that life has to teach, and that's going to be one of them, right? That you're going to have to make a certain salary. So what's that
Oh,
plan?
yeah.
What postgraduate jobs are you looking at?
I've completely turned around. When I first was applying to NYU, the only thing I knew that I was good at and wanted to do was art. And so I was going to double major in art or apply to double major in art and business. So
Remember
art, but
that's what I remember. Yeah.
yeah. So I was going to do art, but like practical quote. So because if I ever tell people I was going to do art, they were very against it.
Yeah. That
And
art factory you're going to get a job at. So.
yeah, because I used to argue with them when I was, I think, in middle school or maybe early high school, and I would be like, but I think I'm good at it, and I think if I practice enough, I could make a lot of money doing it. And people were like, that's just not a bet you should take. And I was like, okay. So then finally senior year or junior year, I took physics with Mr. Tubbs, my
Shout
favorite.
out to Mr. Tubbs.
Shout out Mr. Tubbs.
Yeah.
And that was the first class I've ever taken that wasn't art that I enjoyed. I really enjoyed it. And then
ouch, that hurts so bad.
well, but I was so he was like,
Tubbs
I
is
love
awesome.
it.
Tubbs is amazing. Well, and he makes it so practical. That's the thing. Like he makes
I love it.
everything so practical about what he does. So yeah.
I like, oh my God, physics, that was like a game changer for me. So then senior year, I didn't take any art classes and I took 2 maths and 2 sciences. And I took physics C. I took regular physics junior year, and then Mr. Tubbs was suggested I should do physics C, and I did it, and it was, I wish that I had the mental health awareness and care that I do now, because my path would have been very different. And I would have been a lot less in debt because I would have actually done something, because like me not treating my mental health and focusing on myself before I went to college caused me to be in about $100,000 more of debt.
Wow. Yeah.
And if I had just taken a year off and gone to therapy and actually like figured out who I am, what it means to me to thrive, what fulfills me, and then gone to college, it would have been a much more efficient process. But then I was like, what takes the most physics classes and has a practical high paying job? And he was like, mechanical or electrical. And I was like, definitely mechanical. I don't really like electrical as much. And then he was like, okay, mechanical engineering. And then I was really interested in nuclear. So NYU has a nuclear minor concentration with the mechanical major that you can do. And I really wanted to do that because I think the physics of it is extremely interesting. And I really wanted to learn it. But when you go to engineering school, they want you to put it into use. And once I started doing labs and everything, I hated it. I was like, I just like the theory of it. I like to solve the equations and look at how we got there. And then they can do the applying. And so I didn't even know that theoretical physics was like a thing though. Okay. So this was all news to me. So then I'm like, what am I doing? What am I doing? And then I left. And then when I came back, I talked to a different advisor, and he was like, why don't you try this major, science and technology studies? And I had taken a couple classes in this major before, and they were my only A's, and not because they were easy, but because I had been interested in them. And so I had tried, and I was like, okay. And I just knew that this was the major everyone switches to, and they like are going to fail out of Tandon, and they always graduate in this major. And then I was like, but I feel like I really ended up finding my passion in this major, and it's very much influencing where I would like to do this. I want to go to grad school and I think study things in this topic. My major is basically science, technology, and society. So it's how our technology and tools influences our society. So we do a lot of research in artificial intelligence and its impact on society and stuff like that. And it's really taught me, I did not know that I was just so interested in it. And I really want to, I think, go to law school. And I would really love to do tech policy, I think.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's where it's moved to. But in terms of money, which is a completely opposite direction, I think I'm going to pursue painting,
Really?
which is not practical, and people will definitely give me a lot of shade for, but if
Jamie,
you
you're
go to
so
law
good.
school, then no one can argue.
Jamie, you're so good. You're so good. I've got
Thanks.
2,000 students that and again, I'm not an art expert at all, but my gosh, your paintings are so beautiful. So I
I
think you're,
just need to be motivated to practice it. But I always just felt like if I put my time into it, that it would be a waste because it's not a practical path. And that had just been really drilled in me.
yeah. So you're thinking law school.
Yeah, I would really like to go to law school, but I really don't want to be like, the worst thing about me in terms of college is that I really just love the education. And I'm very passionate that
You
college.
just said the worst thing about you is you really love the education.
Well, yeah, because like in
So,
this
so
economy, like
yeah. So logically contradictory though, right? Like it's like that. So no, I totally get
yeah, because like you can't be passionate about education if you're not a wealthy individual in America.
Yeah.
Because if I want the education that I want, because the reason that I chose people, then they asked me, because when I wanted to do engineering, that's what I applied to school for,
Mhm.
was for engineering. And people were like, why would you go to NYU for engineering when you can get a full ride to A&M? And my counselor gave me a lot of talk on that. She
Yeah.
was very, and everyone else. But I really liked NYU's engineering school because they were different. They were more innovative. Like our gen ed classes for freshman year for engineering students, we take 2 classes that are all about innovation and invention. And they basically teach you how to create a company, how to create a product, how to pitch it, how to make sure it's practical, how to do research on it. And they have competitions for funding if you actually make something you want to make. And I learned so much in that. And that was really why I liked NYU's engineering school, and why I think that Tandon will definitely climb the ranks of engineering schools as they are already in the future, because they're very focused on diversity, inclusivity, and innovation. Instead of just fixing things, they're about like building things
Are
and
they
design.
cross-pollinating with Stern at all to try to do some of that stuff, or is it?
I'm really anti-Stern school.
Are you?
And I'm sorry, NYU, you're a fantastic school, but it's entirely because of the people that go there. No one likes a Stern guy.
Oh, really?
No, like take off your suit. We're in school. I get it. You had a $20 salad for lunch. Like I hate it.
Okay. That's awesome.
They just jewel and objectify women. Sorry, okay, I'm done.
Okay. You definitely have strong opinions about Stern guys.
Yeah, they're widely. NYU knows.
That's something else that brings it up though, because I mean, mechanical engineering and being female, that is not a field that is notoriously full of female students.
No, my first 2 years of engineering school are definitely characterized by anxiety. Just fully. Now my school is actually, it's almost 50-50 female male. But when I first went in, I think it was 30% female.
Okay, well, that seems kind of high. I'm kind of good anyway.
And yeah, it was very high for an engineering school, and that's what they were aiming for. That they've been really trying to promote more women coming, and they definitely search out for it. But it was very intimidating for me because there were so little females. There was a lot of competition between them, and I haven't been as scared of my female acquaintances as I was in freshman and sophomore year of college, I think since I was in 6th grade. Like they were so competitive and driven, and I'm not like competitive. I'm not competitive. I really just want everybody to be their best. Like I'm competitive with myself, and I think other people should be competitive with themselves. And so when people are competitive with me, it gives me massive anxiety. And then I realized I was like, this really isn't for me. Like I just want to, I realized way too late that I really just want to study for my whole life.
So you got to figure out I've talked to another one of I think she graduated the same time with you, talking with her in a couple of weeks.
Ooh.
And she's at law school at SMU right now. Mackenzie Malloy, when she graduate. Yeah.
Yes.
So she's at law school at SMU. We're going to talk in a couple of weeks. And I asked her, I said, because, when I found out Jamie Kirby was majoring in business and art, I thought that kind of makes sense. And I think as someone it turned to engineering, and I was like, I didn't really see that. But I mean, I knew you were brilliant, so I wasn't worried about that. But for Mackenzie, like, I definitely didn't see Mackenzie in law school after she
Yeah.
graduated from college. I was like, so I asked her, she said, it was mostly because I didn't want to finish school yet. I wanted
That's
to
how I
stay.
feel.
Yeah. So, well, and so a couple of from my armchair psychotherapy, psychobabble terms that I know, one of the things I kind of heard you talking about was imposter syndrome a little bit, like being afraid when you were in mechanical engineering and the competitiveness of it kicked in. Were you worried that, like, can I really do this? Am I really, was that a factor at all? Was that something that was a problem?
It was a huge problem for me because I felt like I didn't fit the mold of the engineer. I knew I was smart enough to do the work, but I didn't feel like I fit the mold. So I felt like even if I was in group projects, I was still like ignored, or people would think that I'm dumb because I'm outgoing and bubbly and I joke about everything when I don't need to be. And that's not a normal engineering student. Engineering students are very um, analytical.
Did you see the video the girl did? The lady did. I'm so self-conscious about, like, using the wrong term now at my 51-year-old West Texas background, kind of growing up.
I've learned a lot about
Hey, little
that.
girl. But there was a girl did a video where she was on a Zoom call, I think, with her male classmates. I want to say she was an engineer, and she kept trying to make suggestions, and they kept trying to, they just absolutely ignored her. And you could tell, like, the way Zoom works, right? You could tell she was in talking, and they just went right past what she had said, and it was all male voices talking over her. Have you seen that?
Yeah, that was also a big influencing factor of why I didn't want to go to school in the South or at a big SEC school.
Yeah.
Because I love football. It was heartbreaking for me to go to a school where our biggest sport is fencing. But
The
I
Jets, right? So you've got football no, the Jets.
what I have to say about that. I've become a basketball fan now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I just
Okay.
turned. But the males at NYU I found, because I have a lot of friends who study engineering in other schools, and I've definitely had a better experience at NYU than my friends have had in Texas. When I was in high school, I interned at an aerospace engineering company, and even you can feel it in the energy. It's like I feel like people are looking at me like, why are you here? But at NYU, there's still that, don't get me wrong, of course, but it's a mix of that and curiosity. Like, because usually you just feel like people are like doubt, like they just look at you like, why is she here? But at NYU, it's like they'll ask, there's always like if saying you're in a group of 3 for a lab, there's like one guy who will look at you like, why are you talking? There's one guy who will not answer you because he's just neutral. And then there's another guy who will ask you and consider what you say versus going to a different school where they would all just look at you like, why are you talking?
The thing is, everybody feels that way. Like that guy who's like looking at you like, why are you talking? He's looking at you that way because he has his own imposter syndrome thing that he's dealing with.
Yeah.
And he deals with it as being a bully. I get accused of being arrogant. I mean, hard to believe, right? I get accused of being arrogant and cocky all the time, but I know me. I know that, like, most of, like, when I screw up, it's mostly because of an insecurity somewhere. Like, I'm like, oh,
That's how everybody is.
everybody's that way. Every person's like that. And that's the thing that it's hard for people to think about coming out of high school is everyone has their shit they're dealing with. And you just gotta, your shit is different than that person's shit. And then the way they deal with it is different too. So I think I just got the E rating on a podcast.
I looked something up because I think about this a lot, especially since I've you don't not psychoanalyze everything when you're in intensive therapy for 2 years. So I have a sketchbook journal, and in here it says, and this is a very big thing for me when I heard this, so I wrote it down, but the questions people ask reveal more about them than their answers, because what people want to know really reflects their interests, their insecurities, their personality. And that really stuck with me. I think about that a lot now, because especially because I teach students, and a lot of the students I teach, I have honestly pretty intimate relationships with. I'll tutor for a while, and then once we finish the work for the last while, we'll talk about like what's going on in their life, and I'll kind of give them advice. And that's been, ever since I heard that, that has really changed my perspective of when I talk to people, because it really is true.
So do you think it's like also the guy who never asks questions, that probably tells you that he thinks he knows all the answers? Like I get accused of thinking I know all the answers, and it's not that. It's just when I know an answer, I feel pretty confident that I'm right. But I love asking questions and stuff like that. You made that comment too about relationships. I had a tutor a couple of years ago, and he had like really mild Asperger's, but we would talk about it and stuff. And I had to coach him on, like, in the beginning of a tutorial session, ask the kid, how are things going? Like, how's school going? And I'd go by and I'd hear him. And it was so perfunctory. Like he was clearly checking a box still of must ask them how they are doing, must ask them one follow-up about what they say. I mean, you could tell like that was the delivery, but it immediately made such a difference in the connection that he had with the students and stuff. And
yeah, I really feel like I feel like because one of the programs I was in was behavioral therapy, and I really learned how to talk to people like on a lot of ways I didn't know how.
It's a class I probably need. My sister would tell you that's a class I need to take.
I think that everybody needs it. I'm very passionate about it now. I really think everybody does. If I had a choice, I would put it in curriculum for elementary schools. Just because if I had that, my life would have been so much better. We would just have a more functional society.
If we knew how to actually, we wouldn't like try to talk over each other and just be trying to win our point and not like listen to the other side if we had to.
Yeah. But back to what you said about not asking questions, I think about that a lot because I never ask any questions. I feel like I just don't have any though. And it's not that I think I know everything. It's just, I just don't know what I don't know.
Yeah.
And some people do know what they don't know. And that's why I find that really interesting, because that's what they wanted. But for me, I never know what I want to know. I'm just kind of like, whatever you'll give me.
It's hard to ask questions sometimes, right? It's like worry, not so much like, what are they going to think about me? But just knowing, like, you nailed it. How do you ask a follow-up question to that? What's the question you need to ask? So no, that's really interesting. Well, the graduation date is May 21st, May of 21.
Mm-hmm.
What's the plan after that? Is there a law school? Have you looked into law schools yet? Are you?
I really want to try to go to NYU, to be honest. That's a really big goal for someone who failed her first few years of college. I didn't fail. I have every grade.
You didn't fail.
I have every grade like very evenly distributed. My advisor says I have flavor. He's not wrong. He said my transcript has flavor. Because I told him, he asked me, I just had my last meeting with him last week, and he asked me what I was thinking about doing, and I told him I'd really like to go to law school. And I asked him what my chances of going to NYU if I got a really good LSAT score. Mm-hmm. And because that's definitely going to be the factor here. Yeah. And he said that if I got a good LSAT score, it could happen because it just has flavor.
So what are you doing for LSAT? Are you prepping?
Yeah, I'll be probably picking up some books. I'm a big book reader. I'm honestly really excited. I used to do them for online for fun in high school, like practice ones.
Oh, really? For fun?
I love them. It's like they made English math. It's amazing. Like, it's like drugs for my brain. And I realized I should have realized that a long time ago that this is what I should do if I feel that way. I don't know why I didn't think to, but I'm very excited to start studying for it.
Cool. And are you gonna trying to think about that. So are you oh, I was gonna ask you about tutoring people and stuff. Tutoring, you're doing face-to-face tutoring, or are you doing it online?
I'm doing Zoom right now.
Okay.
I have a tutoring class kind of where with a few students twice a week, and then I privately tutor like 10 other children. I say some of them are like 16, 17.
Oh, I still say
But
kids, and you guys are
yeah,
full
they're under 18, and
yeah.
they're all very different. I love tutoring.
Yeah.
It's why I've chosen to not work, because I probably could get my old job back now that it's kind of open again, but I really
more tutoring on, and you can have your own schedule.
Yeah, and I really enjoy it, especially because of my relationships with the students.
Yeah.
They teach me just as much as I teach them.
I'll go ahead and tell you. So if you find yourself needing some openings, we're going to start some subject-specific tutoring. And my goal here is to find people like you that are great former students that I knew were great students. I already have two actually lined up. If you something you want to tutor, dude, there's so much demand out there.
If there's like anything that I'm like genuinely cocky about, it's my ability to teach math. I'm such a good math tutor.
Well, and dude, and just from the practical aspects of the market, like having a girl who teaches people math is phenomenal. And man, call me sexist for that, but
but it's true. My kids do not miss tutoring.
I had one of my students that I worked with a while back, and I think she got what I would say, but we would joke around about how people would go, well, math is hard. Math is hard. So, and it was just, because she was so good at it. But that's the thing, right? I'm like, she'd make a silly mistake and it'd be like, well, and that's it, having the chance for having the 15-year-old girl having a chance to have a girl say, look, here's how you do it. And here's how you, that's why I think Gabby Cackley may have graduated a year or two behind you, but
I think she was in my grade.
Or was she? Okay. It all after a while, it all blends together, like trying to keep everybody sort. I know you were my first freshman group at Carroll. That I kind of remember, but trying to track it after that, I lose track.
I don't know how you remember all the names. That's why
I don't. So Sarah Banks walked up to me. I know she was in your group too. Because Sarah looks a lot different than she did in high school now.
Yeah.
And I was at Starbucks one day, and she walked up and she was like, you probably don't remember me. And I was like, I don't recognize you. As soon as the name came out, I was like, Sarah. But she looked very different now than she did back then. And so I think her hair was was some shade of blue, I believe, that day.
Yeah,
and so
her artwork's really cool.
Yeah, it is. She's done some cool stuff. There's so many, and that's the thing I'm excited about with this. I've got one of the interviews I've got lined up is a kid he went off to Sam Houston State, a team captain for a soccer team that I was coaching. And he went off to Sam Houston State knowing he was going to go to criminal justice and be an FBI agent someday. And he is the lead guitarist in a rock band now, covered in tats and all kinds of, And I'm just super excited to talk to Kelly.
That's so cool.
I mean, no, this is totally a vanity endeavor. I'm hoping to give information to make college real for people. That's why the title of it's like, I think, what did I say? Let's talk college. And I'm trying to make it just real conversations about college and college experiences. But I forgot the title of my own podcast, Jamie. That's terrible. It is the second interview, but but no, it's a vanity project too, because I get a chance to sit and have a conversation like this and talk for an hour with kids that I absolutely loved working with and hearing the chance that the kids that I worked with in the 90s, like there was no Facebook. I catch up with a couple of them now and then, and a couple of them, like one of the kids owns like 3 businesses up in Amarillo now. I could love to talk to him, but the fact that I get to see what you guys are really doing now is so cool. I'm really excited about it.
I feel like I just really want college to be accessible. And I don't know how else to say it, but I just really want college, Like, make college about the education, because right now college is all about the career, and most of the careers that you quote unquote need a 4-year degree for, I don't believe that you need a degree for. And then the things that people want to study, like humanities and things like that, that actually require like studying for years, they're so expensive that it's not practical to study them.
One of your classmates made the comment. She same kind of thing you said. And I won't. This is a private conversation, so I won't tell you who in a recorded video, but I might tell you afterward. But she said, she was very frustrated when she first got to college her freshman year. She went to a big flagship state university, and all through high school, she said, "Yeah, I played the game in high school. I played school. Yeah." You made the comment earlier. I was like, clearly my Bybee rants didn't go sink into Jamie Kirby, because I would have rants about quit playing school, focus on learning.
You can't focus on learning when you have untreated mental illnesses.
No. That's not what I'm talking about so much. I'm talking about like the people who, I kind of joke around with people now. I kind of see students in 3 groups these days. There is the group that has a 101 GPA, and they would stab their mother if that was the extra credit assignment. Like, they would just blindly say, I'm going to get an extra 1/10 of a point from this. Sorry, mom. There's that group. There's the group that makes a 90 or below. And that group is much more interested in smoking pot and doing things that aren't, and great. You may have a fantastic, but that's the group there. They're like, what's the least I have to do in order to graduate? And okay, cool. But then there's that middle group. They have like a 93 to a 99 GPA. They're in lots of other activities. They have lots of different passions. And man, that's the group. I love the one-on-one group. I like helping them, because I'm like, okay, let's dial it back. Let's get some control over it. But the 93 to 99 group, that GPA group is really fun to work with, because they're just hardworking kids. And there's the one-on-one group's hardworking kids, but they're so just grade driven and stuff. So, but that was it. So anyway, back to the conversation that the student I had. She said she was really frustrated because she played that game all the way through it, and then she got into college and it was more of the game. Like, it was classes of 300 her first year, and she hated that, because she was like really excited about, now I finally get to learn. I don't just have to play the GPA game all the time. And then she was in these classes. She said the only thing that saved her was and she's in med school right now, so I might be giving it away a little bit, but the only thing that saved her was her honors classes she was able to take, where she did have smaller classes and was able to actually engage with the professors a little bit. But Yazan and I talked about it the other day, like those first couple of years. How big were the classes your first couple of years at NYU?
That was also a really big influencing factor of why I wanted to go to NYU, especially the engineering school, because my biggest class, like my lecture quote, was, I would say, never more than 35 or 40 people.
Really? That is huge.
I think maybe over 41 time, but most of my classes are pretty small. My favorite class this semester had 14 students in it. And we all kept our cameras on every class during Zoom. It was, I think, one of my favorite classes in my whole college career.
Get your cameras. I saw a high school teacher posted a while back a picture of one of my friends of his Zoom class, and his camera and mic were the only ones on. And there were like 30 other windows that were all off. There was a video on Friday. Now This put out a video last week of a professor where everyone had their cameras off, and he was kind of like, okay, turn your cameras on. And you heard a voice say something, and they all held up like signs for him and stuff.
We did that for my teacher last week, and he cried.
Yeah, and he was crying. Maybe it was your teacher that they did it for. In the Now This video. So, but it was pretty cool.
I love it. It was so good. I feel them now, because my kids have started turning off all their cameras, and I'm like, we're literally tutoring math. You don't need to turn off your camera right now, but they're tapped out. So
let's talk. There's some things you can do too to help with that. A friend of mine is in New Jersey, and he does a lot of online tutoring, and so he has it down to kind of like some ways that are real subtle to engage the kids so sometimes but the camera on thing.
The only reason I love tutoring over Zoom. I found a really good method for it.
Oh, what'd you do?
Especially in groups, because I'll ask them different questions to pinpoint what they need, and then they'll all send me private chat answers. And then if someone gets it wrong, I'll work it out. I share my screen on like a Paint.
And then
I'll do that. Or I have a whiteboard.
Have you gotten a Wacom tablet? No, it's this little tablet you can get to plug into your computer too, and you can work it right on your screen. You can put it right on the whiteboard in Zoom. It's only like $60.
Oh God, I definitely need one.
Yeah, WACOM, Wacom, and the entry level one is perfect. In fact, for you, dude, you might even want to do the other one because you can do artwork with it and stuff. You can sketch on it and stuff. They've got some pretty crazy ones. Some pretty stuff. I use that a lot when I'm doing math online with kids.
I really enjoy tutoring over Zoom more than in person in most contexts. Sometimes it's hard, but I really enjoy it because, well, I enjoy that it's from my house, but I also enjoy that it's kind of a challenge to tutor them. So you really figure out how people learn because like it's much more difficult to get them to ingest information. And I like the challenge.
Yeah, cool. Dude, this has been awesome. So I'm going to follow, I'm going to follow you on Instagram to see how things are going because that's where you live. But anything else? I mean, do you have a web page for the art or anything like that? Or is there an Instagram account or anything like that people can?
It's coming. My goal is to launch a website by the end of January. I'm not coming home for the holidays and I'm just going to paint and work on my craft.
If you need someone to help you, do you have someone to help you get the website set up?
No.
Okay, let me hook you up with my guy Jason Armour at Armour Creative. Jason has done multiple websites, and I can twist his arm a little bit and give him a sob story, a starving artist sob story, and Jason will set it up in such a way that you can go in and do it all on your own, and you can manage the website and manage the information. Because I think that one of the harder things for you is going to be the intellectual property rights of it, right? About maintaining the copyright on it, and people using it without without permission. So
that's definitely.
I mean, Jason right now is doing a logo for me for this. I probably should have asked you to do my logo for this. I may do that.
I don't really do it.
No, you don't want to do a logo for me?
I don't know how to do anything digitally. So like,
okay,
you get an oil painting like this is the album cover that I just did.
Yeah, let me see it. Let's see it.
I haven't
Dude, oh, that is so cool. That's so cool. What kind of music does Sam play?
Like indie rock.
Okay.
I guess alternative rock.
Did you ever catch up with Sam Casey? Wasn't he about the same year as you?
I talked to him on the phone. He was in the year above me, like a couple days ago.
I want to talk to Sam. What's he doing now?
He is working on a few films that he has been producing for a few years, and he's scoring them and producing them and directing them and acting in them. And I think he's launching them in the next year.
All right. So, and I want to talk to Sam too, if he'll talk, because I never actually taught Sam, right? I think you were in the class where Sam and I made our introduction when he was taking a selfie inside the bathroom. You remember that, don't you? And I was like, who is that? What are you doing? You're in a bathroom. So
that's so him. He's a character for sure.
So I want to talk. I'd love if you would talk with me a little bit. But cool.
There are so many interesting people to talk to.
There are. Well, everybody has a story, and so man. Well, thanks for talking with me today. It's probably a pretty good wrapping up place here for it. But this is awesome, Jamie. Thank you for it. Second one in the books. And I'm going to be checking back with you and find out how the law school pursuit is going. If you need any LSAT help, I haven't done LSAT. I probably know some people who are, but I don't know if you're going to want individual tutoring for that. But you're so resourceful, I don't think you need it. But if you want,
I'm a pretty good internet learner, like a book learner. Like I'll usually just pick up a textbook and like.
If you want me to recommend. I can ask them what would you recommend that you do, and they can tell you the best material that's out there.
That would be great.
So I'll find that out for you. Okay. Jamie, it was awesome talking with you. When are you back in town?
Late January. I have a painting commission in Texas, and it's pretty big, so I'm gonna come back and do it at home.
Very cool. All right. So you'll tell Kathy and Lauren I said hi.
You will.
All right. And I look forward to talking with you. Let me know when you're back in town. Okay.
All right.
Thanks, Jamie.
Thank you.
Talk to you later.